Hello again, my name's Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and if you'd like to see how I made this quilt, please continue watching. And so I've called this one Carnation Corner because I really love carnations. Unfortunately I can't grow them in my garden because the conditions just aren't suitable, but I can create a carnation quilt, and it has lots of spiky petals like the carnation. It looks quite complicated, but like all of my quilts, it's really easy to put together. So if you think of it as a 9 patch, it's predominantly 3-inch squares or 3-inch half square triangles. So I will put a copy of this design on my community page, and all of the squares and triangles that you'll need, and also the steps we need to take. So that'll be there for you. So let's have a look at the fabric that I've selected. Before I go buying fabric for a new quilt, I have a look in my stash to see what I can use. And I'm going to use this green and the gold. That's a fabric range called Flutter. And then I had this beautiful blue with a teal background. So I'm going to use that. And then my new purchase is this. So it's a navy black ground with a soft green and a pink rosebud. And then I have this lovely pink here with navy leaves and teal flowers here, and then I have a navy with a green and a purple flower bud. And then the background, I've decided to use 2 different backgrounds. So for the centre flower, it's this white on white, and then a sort of textured cream. So step 1 is a simple little 9 patch, and the fabric I'm using for that is the floral and the pink and the gold. And so the squares for these 9 patch were all 3 inches cut, and you need 5 of these units. And now we can move on to step 2. And so this is block A. We need to take the 9 patch for the centre, and now we're going to work our way around that. And so the next step is to surround the 9 patch with an edging like that. They're all 3-inch half square triangles or squares, and there's a little log cabin. I'll show you that. And so for that little cornerstone, or the start of a log cabin, these squares are 1 3/4 inches, and this strip is 1 3/4 inch by 3 inch. And so we'll join these together, and then we'll put the side on. So you need 4 of these for each block. It will look like that. So we take the 9 patch, put that in the centre, and because I want a white in the centre of my quilt, I've got 1 3-inch white square there, and then the other 3-inch squares on the sides and the top, they're in the stone fabric, and then we have half square triangles with the blue pointing in on each corner, and then we'll just pop that cornerstone in there. Sit with the cornerstones, so I'll sew that together, and then we'll look at the next stage. So that's that one sewn. That teal background in that floral fabric is really popping against the navy and the pink rosebud. Okay, so remember this bottom part is white and the other 3 are stone coloured. Now we'll put another layer around, show you what that one looks like. This is the next layer. So there's white on the bottom and there's little cornerstones of the green. I'll put those on next, and then I think we'll begin to see this spiky flower of the carnation. And that's the placement of those squares. So I'll sew those together, and then I'll put the top and the bottom on, and then we'll put the cornerstones on and sew the sides. And that's the block now with the sides on, and we've just got some sashing to go on the right and the left hand side. Just 1 strip, and I'll show you that. And that's the layout. You can see there's some triangles popping in from the block next door. So the sidebars have 2 3-inch squares, then they have 3 triangles, 2-inch squares, and the same on the other side. So I shall sew them in a row and then attach them to each side, making sure that the white is at the bottom. Okay, do that and we'll have a look. And there we are. That's all of block A complete. So there are 4 of those. Now moving on to block B, and the centre of that is the remaining 9 patch, and then we'll just work around like we did on block A, and I'll show you how that one goes. So this is block B, and it forms the centre of the quilt, and it does look a little bit dark. It is a little bit scary how dark it is, but I want it to make a big impact. I want it to look spiky. So it's all 3-inch squares or 3-inch half square triangles, but there are 8 of the little log cabin type blocks. So we'll make those first and then we'll get on with this one. And we want 4 each of these little blocks. And now we'll put the first row around the 9 patch. So the 9 patch goes in the middle, and then we put the half square triangles and the squares around the outside. However, I'm just going to amend that blue and I'm going to put a green in there. And that's the amended layout. I just felt I needed to bring some of the green leaves into the centre of the quilt to balance it up. So I'll sew these together now. And that's the first round sewn in. And I think that green really makes the whole thing just glow. So the next round is the introduction of the white. So that's the next step. We've got the white background in 3-inch squares. We have the odd little log cabin type block in the corner and the rest are 3-inch squares. And I'll show you that layout and then we'll sew it. And that's the layout. So I'll sew that one together now. Well, I've sewn that now. So these little blocks that I've sewn in do take another step, but I think it was really worth it. Look how pretty that is. Gives it a whole new dimension. And I really like this green block because look closely here. There's a similar green on the stem. So I think that picks that up nicely. Okay, 1 round to go now on this central block and we'll have a look at that. And that's the outside of the central block. So it's the white background. There are 4 green cornerstones and there's some half square triangles, so nothing difficult there. Okay, and then that one's finished. And that's the centre block complete. I think that green was a really good move. I've finished now with the white. I think she looks beautiful. So let's put the other 4 blocks around the outside and we'll begin to see the carnation pattern emerging. Just look at her. This is why I design and make patchwork quilts. Isn't she beautiful? Now don't be overwhelmed by the look of this quilt. It may at first glance appear complicated, but it isn't really at all. And if you're a subscriber, you can go to my community page and I'll put the design and the steps on there and you'll see it's quite easy to do. Look how lovely she looks. Okay, next step are the 4 corners. Now they have a real Art Deco vibe to them and I'll show you what we do there. So the next step are these 4 corner blocks and they're block C. They're identical and you don't need to worry about these triangles because they're already in block A. So it's just this square here. However, as you can see on the design, the purple, the light blue and the deeper blue are full squares in the centres and I'm going to replace those with those little log cabin blocks because I just think they look so beautiful. They don't take too much longer, so I'm going to make those first. And they're all sewn now and I think that they're going to make the quilt look extra spiky. That's what I'm going for. Okay, let's have a look at block C. So we need 4 block C's. They're all identical and we start off with this simple little 4 patch. I'll sew those together and then we'll look at the next step. Well, that's step 1 complete and now we'll move on to step 2. So we take 4 half square triangles and a square. That's step 2 and we need to do that 4 times. And that is step 2 sewn. So I'll show you step 3. So we've got some half square triangles and then we've got our little block with a pink square. And so we're just building up the right hand side and the bottom every time on this block. So that's the design. That's the layout. So I'll sew those, and there's 4 of them. And so they're sewn, and because we were only building on 2 sides, it's coming together quite quickly. So we're on stage 4 now. Stage 4 is arranged like that, and then that's the fabric placement. So I'll sew those together. There we are. It's looking very colourful. So let's do step 5. So it's just the same as the last one, except there's 2 3-inch squares this time. So it's 3-inch squares, half square triangles, and the little corner block. So now we've started to introduce the background, the stone colour, and then the next row along will be a green cornerstone and just the background. And so I've sewn that last block, and all that's needed is a row of the stone colour. So there's 6 blocks on that side and there's 6 blocks on that side and a cornerstone of the green. So I'll do that now and that'll be the last of the blocks finished. And that's it. All 9 blocks are complete. So I just need to sew these together and put a little border on. So the fan is on, the walking foot's on, the sun's shining, I'm listening to the radio and taking it easy while I quilt. Happy days. Not long now until it's finished. See you soon. And I've quilted her in a soft cream backing, 100% cotton. She's so cozy. Well, it's really strange. I'm not quite sure what it is, but in this hot weather, she seems to have a cooling effect on the room. Beautiful for the summer. So I'm going to take some pictures now, pop her in my shop. Hopefully someone somewhere will find her and love her. So thanks for staying to the end of this video, and if you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe if you want to. Take care, everybody. Bye.